Hiya, this is Rafe from the Fat Frogs Media Group. So today I'm going to show you how we Photoshop some of our photos for our website, for our album cover, for our promotional shots, etc. So one of the main things we did do was and we used the skin smoothing action. Now I'll talk about this in a minute, but first what we're going to do is just clear up some of the skin. So I'm going to take the spot healing brush, zoom in a little bit, make this brush a bit smaller, and just start to clear up some of the skin. Just need to don't need to do too much, it doesn't need to be perfect by this point, just needs to be fairly even. Now, this is a very useful tool because what it actually does is it takes surrounding area of the photo and it uses that to decide what's skin and say what's an imperfection, and it can actually just completely get rid of an imperfection by itself. So it's a really useful tool to use. Now you do have to be careful sometimes when you come around facial features, because sometimes it will add in an extra lip or something like that, which is never very useful. Like there, we actually got an extra bit of pink from the lip. So I'm just going to undo that one. And we'll zoom in and do a much smaller brush so that we don't get any extra lip. Now, for example, if you've got an area that you want to change completely and you don't want to have to go around and do each individual part, you can use a patch healing tool and take a patch of skin, find a patch of skin that we like, and cover it. So at the moment it doesn't matter that much if it's not absolutely perfect, but we want to get rid of the main imperfections. Okay, so that's a nice fair clean up we've done there. Just to get all smaller imperfections, get rid of them. So next we're going to go on to using our new action called the skin smoothing tool. So normally you would click the options and you would load action, and then you'd find your action on your computer. So we've got a few here, and the one we use is the skin smoothing tool, but I've already loaded it. So we'll click on skin smoothing and click play. It will tell you that you need to zoom in just to make sure that you can see the face, because you can't zoom in whilst you're doing it. We'll click play again, and it automatically creates some extra layers for you, so a high pass and a low pass. And the first thing it does is we are going to do a surface blur, so for the skin. So we'll hit continue. Now you want to set it so that the skin looks perfect per se, but obviously at the moment it will look extremely blurry and fake, but we'll come to that later where you will add back in some of the detail. So we're just going to turn up the radius a bit. So for me that looks about right for now. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and it automatically moves on to the next step for me. The next step will be to add back in some of the finer skin details so that we don't get this overly airbrushed effect, because we want to, whilst keeping it looking good, and Photoshop we don't want to make it too obvious or overly airbrush it. So our next job's to adjust the high pass filter to make the skin look natural, as I just said. As you can see now, we're starting to add back in some more of the skin details, like the pores in the skin and around the eyes. So the idea is we want the skin to be perfect, but we still want detail. So I find the easiest way is to turn it right down and just to slowly move it up until you feel that there's enough detail in there to make it look like real skin. So it was probably just about right what I had it on before, actually. Take it up to 3.3. So we'll click OK. Adjust the brightness and contrast. Doesn't make a huge difference. Now we get to move on to the fun bit. So this may look like we are just painting a face, but what we're doing is creating a mask of where we want the skin smoothing effect to appear. So now we're going to choose the brush tool, and we're going to paint on a layer mask. So we want to get the majority of everything in, and then we want to take back out details such as the eyes. Don't want the eyes to be skin smoothed. The eyebrows or any hair, so facial hair that you want to keep, or hair on the head you want to make sure isn't affected by the skin smoothing tool. Sometimes some details around the nose, because otherwise you lose the definition and you can't see that we actually do have a nose. Just going to add a little bit back in around there. And also the lips is another one that we want to make sure we don't smooth over with the skin smoothing effect. I like to keep the dimples or some of the facial definition features, and then we have to go around the outside, make sure we don't smooth the ears or any more of the photo. So we always make sure to use a feathered soft brush so that we get this smooth edge, because we don't want any hard edges on the face, so it can start looking very unnatural. And then we also do want to do some we do want the neck skin smoothed a little bit, but not too much. In fact, in some cases, like this case, after having used the spot healing tool, I think the neck's okay, so I'm going to use a very light layer. And then again we'll just go around the edges to make sure we don't get any too far off the side. So once we feel like we've done the mask, go and hit play, and everywhere that you've added the mask will now be lovely smooth skin. So for example, what it would have been before would have been that, and we've changed it to nice, natural looking, clean skin. So now for the second part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do some face contouring. So for the purposes of this, you wouldn't normally do this, but we're going to merge the two layers. So we are going to go to Layer, New, Layer. I'm going to choose the mode, I'm going to choose Linear Light, and we're going to do Fill with Linear Light, Neutral Colour, 50% Grey. So now what we can do is, say we're using the dodge tool for example, if we want to make the eyes that beautifully bit whiter, we can go around the detail of the white of the eye and just dodge that colour. Do the same for the other eye. Now in the initial stage of this it looks very, very artificial and strange, but what you do to that layer is you then turn down the opacity until you feel it looks a lot more natural, but still that bit whiter than if you hadn't done anything at all. You can do the same thing for teeth as well, if there's teeth showing. So I'm going to call that eyes just for now. And we're going to move on to actual face contouring. So we'll do the same thing, Layer, Linear Light, and Fill. And so I'm going to show you some very basic and quick face contouring. So what we could do is we will start off using I think we'll go for the burn tool. So sometimes a nice bit of burn. Oh, not sure if this is working. Right, let's try this again. Layer, New, Layer, Linear Light, and Fill. Okay, so sometimes just going around the edge of the face with the burn tool just adds that bit more definition to the outline of the face. So you can see the difference there. Just gives you a more shaded effect. Now something we can do is add in some artificial cheekbones. This normally takes a lot longer to do, but I'm going to try and do a quick rough version of how we do it. So we'll take our burn tool and create where our effective cheekbone shadow would be. and then we'll hold Alt whilst doing this to create our highlights. So it effectively does the same as what a dodge tool would do. It means you can use it to cancel out as well. And we'll just create a very thin highlight line around the edge of the jaw. And we'll quickly do the same on the other side. And we can also do, just to accentuate the chin. Now at the moment it looks very paint-like on the face, but we'll turn down the opacity in a moment to show you the effect of this. Now sometimes males have some lines here which show off the top of the jaw, so I'm just going to do those very lightly. So we don't want to overdo the more subtle of the if we turn down the opacity normally to about 9 or 10, you can now see that our friend Francis here has some higher cheekbone definition. Now maybe I'd made this a little bit too bright. Let's make that a bit darker. It was a bit over the top on the. And there we have it. Francis with cheekbones and Francis without. It's a very, very minor difference, but it's always a nice one to have. Thank you very much for your time.